Hi beautiful souls, welcome back to my channel. So today's video, I thought we would do a Tarot Unsolved video. I haven't done one in so long, and I've thought long and hard about opening this series up to more than just mysteries of life, and I have dabbled in true crime readings a little tiny bit on my other channel, but I'm gonna move all of those kind of readings over here. Anyways, I thought I would get back into it. As you guys know, I haven't been feeling well, but I want to share my creative endeavors again, and this is one of them. So today we're going to be talking about the Yuba County Five, and I was interested in doing this because I've been watching a lot of true crime shows, unexplained shows, and I was watching Files of the Unexplained, which is on Netflix. And I had never heard of this case. I feel like the name sounded familiar, but I had never heard about the full story of this. So I'm going to talk about the story and then we're going to do a reading. Let me just light some incense here. So, as always with these kind of readings, I like to talk about the case a little bit, and then I have some questions that I've written down as kind of a starting off point. We'll talk about the decks I'm using and why, and then just get into the reading. So the Yuba County Five were a group of young men from Yuba County, California, each with mild intellectual disabilities or psychiatric conditions, who were reported missing after attending a college basketball game at California State University in Chico on the night of February 24th, 1978. So this is a very old case, and we're still wondering what happened. There's not a lot of answers. Four of them, Bill Sterling, 29, Jack Hewitt, 24, Ted Weir, 32, and Jack Madruga, 30, were later found dead. The fifth, Gary Mathias, 25, has never been found. Several days after their disappearance, the group's car, a 1969 Mercury Montego owned by Madruga, was found abandoned in a remote area of Plumas National Forest on a high mountain dirt road that was far out of their way back to Yuba County. Investigators could not determine why the car was abandoned, as it was in good working order and could easily have been pushed out of the snowpack it was in. At that time, no trace of the men was found. After the snow melted in June 1978, four of the men's bodies were discovered. Ted Weir was found in a U.S. Forest Service trailer 12 miles north of the car. Only bones were left of Jack Madruga, Bill Sterling, and Jackie Hewitt as a result of scavenging animals, but Weir had apparently lived for as long as 3 months after the men were last seen, starving to death despite an ample supply of food and heating materials nearby. Weir was missing his shoes. Investigators found Mathias's own shoes in the U.S. Forest Service trailer, suggesting Mathias also survived for some time beyond the group's last sighting. A local man later came forward claiming that he had spent the same night in his own car a short distance away from where the Mercury was found. The witness told police that he had seen and heard people around his car that night and twice called for help, only for them to grow silent and turn off their flashlights. This and the considerable distance from the car to where the bodies were found has led to suspicions of foul play. So, yeah, I guess I'll talk a little bit more. Let's see. On February 25th, the Gators were due to play their first game in a week-long tournament sponsored by the Special Olympics, for which the winners would get a free week in Los Angeles. The five men had prepared the night before, some even laying out their uniforms and asking their parents to wake them up on time. They decided to drive to Chico that same night to cheer on the U.S. Davis basketball team in an away game against Chico State. Madruga, the only member of the group besides Mathias who had a driver's license, drove the group 50 miles north to the Chico State campus in his turquoise and white 1969 Mercury Montego. The men wore only light coats against the cool temperatures in the upper Sacramento Valley at night that time of year. After the Davis team won the game, the group got back into Madruga's car and drove a short distance from Chico State to Bears Market in downtown Chico. There they bought snacks, sodas, and cartons of milk to drink. It was shortly before the store's 10 p.m. closing time. The clerk later remembered the men because she was annoyed that such a large group had come in and delayed her from beginning the process of closing the store for the night. None of the men were seen alive again after that point at their homes. Some of their parents waited up to make sure they returned. When morning came and they had not, the police were notified. So it's really strange because these 5 men, and there is debate as to how many of these men actually were in the car at the time that they got out of the car. And there is some suspicion on Gary Mathias because his body was never found. And there were actually people who spotted this person after this whole situation happened. And one of those people was actually the family member of one of the missing men. If you watch the Unexplained Files episode, you can see all of that. And you can also see a little bit more of the background of these 5 men. They go into, you know, who they were, their personalities and things like that. We just don't have time for that today. But, you know, it was really emotional for me to watch these families 40 plus years later crying over their family members that they have, you know, no idea why this happened. And also it's really disgusting how the media kind of portrayed these men back in the day, calling them the R word and things like that. And it's interesting that, you know, taking that into account, if they weren't portrayed in that way, would they have been found faster? Because there is a chance that if they were found earlier, they could have lived, because we know that Ted was found and he had been alive for a while. He wasn't out there and died immediately, which is really sad to think about. You know, Ted Weir, the one they found in the cabin, he was like, he had lost over 100 pounds or something like that in the time that they got lost, and he was found deceased. So it's just really sad to think about that it could have been possible that they were found. But yeah, why would they run out into the cold in the middle of the night? So essentially they went to this basketball game out of town, and they were supposed to have their own game the next day. And so that's why it doesn't really make sense for them to do this on their own, because they had something exciting to look forward to, right? They had something they were all really, you know, pumped for the next day. And so for them on their way back home to kind of take this detour and then pull off on the side of the road and run into the woods, why did that happen? So I have some questions here. Number 1 is what happened, just to try to get like a overview. We might have to pull a few cards for that. Number 2, did their disabilities play a part in this at all? Was that the reason that they went missing in some way or another? Did somebody take advantage of them? Kind of looking at that. Or was it just their state of mind that led them to do this? Number 3, how long were they alive for? We know Ted was alive for as long as 3 months after, but I kind of want to look at the other ones that were found. And then number 4, did Gary Mathias have any part in this? His family members are very adamantly against that, but I do want to look at it. Apparently he kind of did have some kind of a past with drugs and schizophrenia and things like that, so we're going to look at that. You know, it's interesting because when I first started watching the documentary, I was like, this sounds like alcohol was involved, but the things they found inside the car were, you know, like milk and candy. It wasn't alcohol. They found no traces of alcohol, because that was kind of my initial thought was, did they get drunk and kind of that just further, you know, cause them to have delays? Like, I don't know. It's very confusing. So decks I have, the tarot deck I chose was the Morgan Greer. This deck came out in the 70s. I just thought it would work for this case. I had a draw to use it. Because of that, I have the Darkness Oracle, which I made. I have Memento Mori Oracle, Supra Oracle, Mildred Payne Secret Pocket Oracle, and I have this astrology deck to see if we can get any astrological insight into this case. So I like to start off by shuffling the tarot deck and asking the questions and seeing what we get. And then we just kind of go from there. What happened? Number one, what happened? What happened in this case? Okay, we got 2 cards that flew out. Number 2, did their disabilities play a part in their disappearance? Did their disabilities play a part in their disappearance? Okay, we got 3 cards that flew out for that one. How long were they alive? How long were these men alive out in the wilderness? And then, did Gary Mathias have any part in this? Did Gary Mathias have any part in this? Okay. So number 1, what happened? We have the 5 of Swords and the 7 of Cups. Okay. So, this definitely makes me think that foul play of some sort was involved. This was not a spontaneous thing, like on all the men's part, where they were just like, oh, let's just go do this. It sounds fun. There was somebody, and it could be somebody on the outside that wasn't a part of the 5 that convinced them to do this, but the 7 of Cups coming up makes me think that there was something offered. There was something that kind of lured them. This is like having a lot of different options. I feel like this is kind of, this is the daydreamer card. It's like somebody telling them something and they have like, it kind of opens the world up to them. I'm seeing like them almost being entranced by other possibilities than maybe what they're normally exposed to. Okay, so like in their day-to-day life, it's like something intrigued them that maybe they're not used to being around or being exposed to. And so that kind of intrigued them and pulled them into something that they normally wouldn't do. We have the 5 of Swords. So this is ill motives. This is like somebody that has done things in a really shitty way to have some kind of reward. So the person that is responsible for this didn't fully think through the consequences, or the reward wasn't as big as they were originally thinking. This card is like winning the battle, but at what cost? And this also, it's just like shady energy. It's like somebody doing some fucked up shit. So I think it's really interesting that 5 is coming up in 7. So I think maybe there was somebody else involved. Okay, was it somebody in the 5? I think somebody in the 5 did have some motives that were not the best. I don't know. I'm leaning that way. We'll kind of see. Did their disabilities play a part in their disappearance? We have the Wheel of Fortune, the Hierophant, and the 7 of Swords. Okay, so this is what I'm getting with this. The Hierophant coming up is like, to me, it's somebody that is, they put themselves in a position of power. The Hierophant is usually like a priest or, a teacher or something, or somebody that is intellectually thinks they are better than other people, or they think spiritually. Like usually this is a spiritual card. It has to do with rules and regulations and traditions and things like that. So I think there was somebody that out of the 5 that was a little bit intellectually manipulative in a way that the others weren't, and kind of knew how to play on those weaknesses. We have the Wheel of Fortune. So to me, this is a card of fate as well. So I think that things just kind of all lined up in a sinister way, where it just so happened that, you know, maybe they were a little bit more easily swayed than normal, and they were out in the open and all of these things. It just kind of all lined up in a way that is really unfortunate for somebody to take advantage. We have the 7 of Swords coming up. I mean, come on. 7 of Swords is somebody doing something mischievous. It's trickery, it's manipulation, it's cheating, it's all of these things. It's also, you don't know the full story. And, you know, that's what I'm trying to figure out here. But there's a big part of this that is unknown completely, that if it were revealed, it would explain, I feel like, this case pretty much thoroughly. Like, you'd kind of understand, like, oh, because there was somebody here with ill will, okay? Somebody here doing things in a trickster way. Okay. There was something about the merriment, the excitement, the atmosphere that also did push them out of their normal routines, because I know that according to the families and stuff, that they were very much like sticklers for their routine. They didn't like to go outside of that, but there was something about, again, this series of events that led them to be okay with like going outside of that, and then they were tricked. How long were they alive? We have the 10 of Cups. Okay, what I'm getting with this is that they were alive for a while because they were like sticking together with each other. There's still some things that don't make sense to me, because this person doing this was in over their heads as well. Okay. There's something here that's like, the person that led them into this, I think, I don't get the feeling of foul play as far as like murder in the traditional sense. I don't think that these people were taken out and murdered. It's more like leading lambs to the slaughter. That's what I'm hearing. It's like, but the brotherhood, that their friendship, they were almost like a family. It caused them to live a little bit longer, and they were very selfless in taking care of each other. Did Gary Mathias have any part of this? We have the Star. Okay, so the Star can mean a few things. The Star is about hope. It's about the light and the darkness. But it can also be exposure, like being in the limelight, things like that. Oh, that's interesting. I'm looking at Ted Weir's birthday, and it's my birthday. Interesting. There's something here about wanting, I don't know, I get like a hero complex with Gary. This is still, there's still a lot here I'm not understanding. I'm getting like things shown to me that I just don't understand. Okay, so I'm seeing like wanting to be the hero. For some reason, the like Jesus and being led by the star to his like birth is also coming up, and I don't know what that means. I'm gonna pull some more cards. Did Gary Mathias have any part in this? Five of Cups. This is sadness and grief. So something happened to trigger, or he was sad. Again, we have the 5. We have, how many 5s did we have? We have the Hierophant, which is 5. We have the 5 of Swords, and we have the 5 of Cups. So that to me is indicating that there's nobody outside of the 5 that is involved. This is very contained within these 5 men. Okay? And there's grief here. So I think if Gary Mathias was involved, he was still sad. There's a feeling of hopelessness, and I don't know if that was the motivation or if that was the feeling afterwards. But this is like sadness, grief, looking at the what you don't have instead of what you do have, you know, with the, and it's interesting that the water's like blood. There's just something here I'm not understanding. As I say, the Ace of Swords is about clarity. It's like mocking me. I don't know. I feel like with Gary, there was a feeling of hopelessness, like complete, utter hopelessness. Now, whether that was afterwards or that was the motivation for maybe causing some of this to happen, I don't know. I can't tell. Okay, let's pull some of this. Pillar. So somebody was a leader in this group, and this kind of fell in the area of did disabilities play a part and how long were they alive. So this could mean 2 things. Somebody was like the leader in this group in a sinister way, but also I feel like in a helpful way. There was somebody kind of keeping the group together, or positive in a, like, this is very much like, you see these 2 arms kind of holding together. It's like somebody was trying to show that, okay, we're gonna get out of this, trying to stay positive. Somebody was that person. Raven. You know, ravens have a lot of symbolism. They can be an omen of death. Which I feel like is why it's coming up now. There were signs. There needs to be some more digging into. It's interesting. Okay. I don't feel like these men were paid attention to as much by people in their life. Because there are things in the way that they were acting, doing, leading up to this that also hold the key to a lot of this. Okay? There were omens. There were things that, if you were to look kind of into the personal lives of these men, that were like, oh, okay. So, did they keep diaries? Were there letters written? I don't know if there's anything tangible, but there are things in their personal life that would have indicated something sinister to come. Okay? And I know that they did mention that some of these men were scared of Gary. That might be something to look more into, right? Okay, so this card coming up for me is indicating self-destruction, okay? It's like, I have nothing, I feel hopeless, life sucks, I'm going to destroy everything good around me and everything happy around me. Anybody who's indicating that they have it better than me is a target. Ghosts. Okay. I feel like those who are still alive that had connections to these men, there are things haunting you or things that you know. There's a lot of guilt, okay? So there's things here that people know that they haven't come forward with. And if it does come out, I think we'll have some more insight. But there are things that people have been keeping to themselves. And I think that there's a lot of unresolved trauma here with ghosts coming up. This is very much like unfinished business as well. Things from the past coming up. Spirituality, okay. I think that's coming up again. There are signs that, yeah. As I was talking, there are signs this flew out, yes. There are things, synchronicities, weird coincidences that aren't coincidences, okay? There are things that were obvious that you might not see unless you look at things through that way, like through a spiritual way. Okay. Let's get one more. Nature. Okay, Mother Nature did play a part in their death, okay? Hypothermia, exposure, things like that, okay? But that wasn't why they were out there. Like, that wasn't the cause of their death as to why they were out there in the first place. That was just maybe what they succumbed to. Rat, okay. What does it mean when there's a rat in the group, right? I'm going to read what this has to say. A traitor or untrustworthy person. Disease. A traitor or an untrustworthy person. Okay. I think this is all kind of painting a picture for itself here. 5 of Swords and a 7 of Swords is a traitor. Okay. Anything astrological that we should pay attention to? Solar eclipse. Okay. Very big energy with the solar eclipse. Occur with new moons and are more powerful versions of the new moon. Powerful energy to start over with a clean slate. Okay. I get like purging energy with this of like, I'm just going to, again, like have a clean slate, but through destruction, through burning things away, through just ultimate annihilation. I heard, I'm taking you down with me. Okay, why is the nothing card coming up? Okay, yeah, I mean, ultimate annihilation, clean slate, but in a way that is destructive. I think that's why this is coming up. We also have gentleness. There was still compassion and love and empathy. And I think if the families can take comfort in anything, it's that these people died and it didn't turn them in a way that, how do I explain this? They were there with each other till the very end. They were trying to help each other, trying to find a way out until the end. So, really sad. Okay, not really the turn I thought that this reading was going to go in, but it never is. So let me know if you guys have any thoughts, anything that you would add or ways you interpret this differently, please let me know. If there are any cases or anything that you would like me to look at, please let me know. I think I'm going to make this a more often occurrence on my channel. It's something I love to do, and it brings a lot of my interests in. It helps to figure out mysteries, as well as, you know, I get to use my cards and divine, and yeah. So anyways, I love you guys so much. If, again, you have any suggestions or requests, please, please, please let me know. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.